In this video, I'll be explaining how to set the font for a particular element. So the property name for setting the font type of a particular divider is called the font family. So this is a little bit confusing at first. So try to listen carefully. You may have to replay this lecture a few times. The first time you see font family in someone else's code, you notice one thing. It typically lists more than one type of font. For example, let's say Arial, Georgia, Times New Roman. It'll say 3 fonts typically. Sounds a bit strange, but the thing is, the real reason that they're doing this is because the browser, what it does is it tries to read the first font. And the other fonts serve as sort of a backup. So if the browser finds that, the user's browser finds that the first font is not available. Let's say it won't, but let's just say if they find out that Georgia is not available, what it will do is look at the next font. The next font is Arial. So they check, is Arial available? Now, if Arial also isn't available, it will check the third font. Is Times New Roman available, etc., etc. So, and the syntax for this is you write it like this. Say font family, and I would write the 3 fonts. The first one is the one it will check first, so Arial. The second one is the second one it will check, so let's say I would Georgia. And the third value is the third font it will check, so I'll say Times New Roman. Now notice one thing here is that Times New Roman is 3 words, so this one, since it's more than one word, you have to put a double quote around it. And of course, the browser comes with a certain number of fonts, but then most of the more interesting fonts, the more cooler looking fonts, you're going to have to download off the internet yourself. And I'll show you how to do that in another video. But just to show you the basic syntax of font family, let me actually write a real example for you. So let's set a divider and give it an ID of text 1. Right inside the divider, the text 1 is Georgia font. And let's go give this font a font family of, say, Georgia. Okay. In this one, I'll only write 1. So let's set another divider below it. Let's give it an ID of text 2. So, and in this one, I'll write some text inside. Text 2 is also Georgia font. And, 2, let's me write the font family value. So let's add the first one, Georgia. The second one, Arial. And the third one, let me write Times New Roman. And so below our second divider, let's set a third divider and give it an ID value of text 3. And let me add text inside. Text 3 is Arial font. Let me give text 3 a font family. So Arial. And lastly, let me create our fourth and final divider and give it an ID of text 4. And let me write the text inside. Let me add the font family value. And first value I'll add is Hocus Pocus. Second one, I'll call it whatever. And the third value I'll add is Arial. Oh, by the way, when there's 3 words, as I said earlier, make sure you add double quotes around them. And there's more than one word, you need double quotes around them. So for the last divider, I've added 2 nonsense font type names so the computer doesn't recognize them. And let me just show you how this would look in the browser. Have a look here. So in the first example, the computer will read Georgia because I said that's the only possible font. The only possible font is Georgia. So in the second example, the computer will read Georgia because it's the first font that it can read. So it doesn't really matter what I write for the second or third font value. Only reads the first readable one, and the first readable one is Georgia. For the third example, the computer will also read Arial because it is the only font I wrote there. It is the only font value I wrote. The fourth one is a bit more interesting. The first value and the second value, hocus pocus and whatever, are not real font values. So computer cannot read them. So the first it cannot read, the second it cannot read, only the third it can read. So the fourth example, the text displayed will also be Arial because the first and the second are not readable. Now, I strongly suggest you actually go out and play with code, play around with code to see what it is I've actually done, because I personally didn't find it too intuitive. It wasn't extremely intuitive for me in the beginning, but just play around with it and I think you'll eventually get it. But anyways, that about finishes this video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me and I'll see you next time.